Hello, Andy here. Welcome to the final part of the series, Serenity in the Trenches. Hasn't this been fun? I really hope you've got as much out of kind of listening to it as I have from producing these episodes. Definitely a moment a few weeks ago when I was wondering how on earth I was going to be able to get it all done, thanks to my tendency to bite off more than I can chew and think, oh yeah, I'll just do that and I'll do that. Pretty soon I've got a to-do list as long as your arm. But we've made it. I kind of culled bits off that to-do list and stripped it back to its bare bones. And I'm really happy with how this has gone. And I'm so glad that everybody who's contributed to it did. I'm really, really grateful to all of those who have. It's just been so wonderful to put together, to explore, to learn from these people. So what would you say to a younger version of yourself by way of encouragement, reassurance, or inspiration? I mean, it's a really fascinating thing to explore. And it's one we can all do at different stages of life as well. You know, for many of us, the voice of our younger selves can still be quite dominant. You know, it's that so-called little voice that tells us stories about, you know, what we should or shouldn't do, how we are and what we are and what we are not capable of doing, and how we should view other people and situations and opportunities, all that sort of stuff. It can be strong, demanding to be heard and heeded. Developing an ongoing dialogue with it can be a really helpful thing to do in terms of moving forwards in positive and progressive ways. And so this question basically opens up that conversation between where, who, how you are now, and where, who, how you were then at different stages. And so by talking to your younger self in such a way, you open up the possibility of transforming your current self, encouraging, inspiring, reassuring, bringing compassion, understanding and comfort. It's that quietly controlling ghost within, so that they feel heard and they're given the opportunity to release some of those negative experiences and messages and beliefs about themselves and about the world. Nancy would tell her younger self, be fearless. Most of the fears you face are between your ears. Trust that you'll know to avoid alligator-infested swamps and bubbly volcanoes. Dive in and experience all that you can make of this one short trip on Earth. I mean, fear is a big theme in the responses, as you can imagine.
Stop being so afraid. Because I really do think it comes back to that fear thing. We stop ourselves before we start. We throw in the flag and call something a failure before we've actually really tried. Don't be afraid to go all in. And when I say go all in, that doesn't mean I'm saying hedge all your bets on like one idea or one thing. I'm saying like try a bunch of stuff and go all in. I'm saying like really put forth the effort. I think that's what I would tell myself, because it's so easy to just get comfortable and then before you know it you're like living for the weekend. That was me in a nutshell. I think that's most people, like living for the weekend. Like, okay, I hate this job. I'm going to do this for 5 days a week, and I get off 2 weeks a year for vacation and a few holidays here and there, and I'm off on the weekend. And don't fall for that. Don't fall for that kind of thinking. You know, think bigger, think wider.
This is a fascinating one from Jim. Don't tell yourself stories to justify numbness and misery when there is no real long-term plan. The idea of going all in is both scary and liberating. Don't play small. You're here doing this. You got one shot at it. Do something meaningful and joyful.
I know it's customary with these sort of questions to say that you'd go back and reassure your old self that you're on the right track, just keep going. But the truth is, I was lost for a long time, especially in my 20s, and I often didn't make good decisions. I wasn't on the right track. I was floundering. And it took a long time for me to course correct and start living the life I needed to be healthy and happier. I love that lost girl who tried so hard and got so confused. I want to wrap my arms around her and say gently that one day she will learn to let go of obsessing and agonizing over the big things, to notice and focus instead on the little things, and it's only then that everything will start to click into place. I'd also tell her that growth is slow, but the tiniest things you do every day, those smallest choices, they add up. I'd want to encourage myself to stick with the stuff that heals and nurtures, and to turn away from the things that don't, to commit, to hold my seat, to learn to sit with my pain and not run from it or try to smother it, to not always pick the easy path. It was fear and restlessness, ultimately, that pulled me off track so often, and what ate up so much precious, finite time.
This is so beautiful from Josie. Those small things add up. Restlessness, impatience, and a desire to move with haste. These are things that might stop you from committing and persevering with what matters. Stick with it long enough to know that you gave it your best shot. It's one of the messages I would give to my younger self. But also, if it doesn't feel right, don't feel like you should stick with it just because people say you should. Trust your gut, and we will deal with the consequences, because knowing when to quit is just as important a part of the story as persevering. I love how Tula reverses the question.
I want to think this also other way around. What would my younger self say to current me? She would probably say something like, "You did okay, not perfect, but okay. I'm not that embarrassed or scared. You have done enough. Now it's time to give yourself permission to rest and take care of yourself. Finally learn how to have fun and relax, and to love. Keep supporting others and dare to be supported. And for goodness sake, learn those healthy boundaries."
So here we have that conversation really opening up, and the compassion from that younger self, that little voice that can carry such big, critical, harsh judgments. We need to feel accepted and loved from that side of our story. Otherwise, we carry the restlessness, the self-berating, the regret, the feeling, I'm not good enough, I've not done enough, I've let myself down. But what if that younger self, the one with, their whole life ahead of them, came into the present moment and said, I'm proud to become you. You are enough. Thanks for continuing the story, man. It's been gripping to watch, and wow, I can't believe the way that you dealt with some of those situations that you've been through.
Just chill, girl. That's what I'd say. I think I still need to say that to myself right now. I don't need to take myself so seriously. In the end, it's okay to relax and enjoy life. I don't think we're here to struggle, and I don't think it's meant to be as serious as we take it to be. I think we are meant to be happy and enjoy life and not sweat the small stuff.
Yes, Michaela. Yeah, a message many of us need to remind our younger selves of, and our current selves as well. This is a theme that has come up over and over in this series. Joy, humour, little pleasures. They're foundational to a kind of well-meaning, happy, contented life.
I would tell my younger self to, a really good friend of mine said with love, anytime I would notice myself kind of spiraling, he would say, "Oh, Leah, CTFD," as in calm that down. That's more or less what I would be saying to my younger self. It would just be to say, hey, breathe. You don't have to be perfect, and the world doesn't have to be perfect. Just go out there and be your best self, whatever that means today. And because I'm finally in a place now, that makes it sound like I made it and there's no finish line, but I'm at least in a place now where I'm seeing the value of just kind of going out there and treating life like a practice. And that's what I would tell my younger self. Treat life like a practice. You're never going to get it right. You're never going to reach the North Star. It's great to use that as a kind of navigation tool, look at perfection, whatever that might mean to you, but you're never going to really be perfect. You can just be perfectly yourself. So that's what I would encourage myself as a younger person and anyone who is interested. to try and develop for themselves, is a sense of like, hey, I don't know what's going on out there, man, but I'm okay. I'm doing the best I can, and I like me. I like hanging out with me. So I think that's pretty good progress for one human.
It's a really cool idea, Leah. Life is a practice. And the nature of practice is that it kind of is its own purpose. You're not striving for anything other than to show up and practice, to engage in the practice itself. And the more that you do that, the better you will get. You know, there is no destination. There is only now. There is only showing up. And improvement will be a byproduct of that showing up, of that practice.
I think I would say, hey, everything's okay. My younger self was so worried all the time. She was so worried of being criticized. She was constantly criticizing herself. She thought she was too weird. She thought she was too out there. She thought she got too emotionally attached and fell in love too easily. And I would tell her, all those things are wonderful. Be your wonderful, weird self. Fall in love with the world. Be emotionally attached. Feel passionate. Those are your strengths. Those are your gifts. That intensity is a gift. That's what I would tell my younger self.
It's wonderful when we find a key to unlock the struggles of our younger selves. You know, Lauren says this so perfectly. I remember when I first discovered what it meant to be an introvert, it changed everything for me in terms of the messaging that I'd internalized about, I guess, my kind of intrinsic worth and value, especially in the context of like school and friendships, being the quiet one, not wanting to go out at the weekends. I felt kind of like there's something wrong with me, like I was broken, ill-equipped for life. But no, like completely normal. And from that platform, it was possible to start unshackling that wonderful, weird self that Lauren talks about. Give permission for him to see the world as he sees it, not as he's supposed to see it. This is still a work in progress. You know, there is no destination, no completeness, no wholeness, as we've talked about before. Just the continuing unfolding story of getting to know the person I'm always in the process of becoming. And it's the same for you.
I don't know. It's a tough one. I mean, I basically wrote a 100,000-word book that was me writing to my younger self. You know, here's all the things you need to know to not be anxious anymore. And in that, there was a whole load of things. You know, I think teaching myself to relax, to react to the world as it is and not how I imagined it was, to be more kind to myself and more trusting of my future self and my ability to handle difficult situations, to not get caught up in ideas of what I should do, what I must do. I think it helped me a lot to accept that we all have inherent value, like including me, and that actually, even if I create something or don't create something, or you know, even if I go like live in a cave and meditate for the rest of my days, these are all perfectly valid ways to spend your time, and none of them change my value. And I think that was a huge realization for me, that my value isn't dependent on what I do, and that I can love myself regardless of, you know, what I'm achieving, what I'm creating, or not.
Yeah, Neil's book, Walking on Custard, absolutely fantastic. Takes shape around a kind of dialogue with the little voice within him, and the conversation is just a joy to behold as he explores anxiety and his own experiences dealing with anxiety, both growing up and kind of currently.
Life is meant to be enjoyed. It doesn't have to be so hard. I used to worry about so much and be so hard on myself, and I still absolutely can be sometimes. But I think the one thing that would really have helped me would be if somebody had said to me, and I'd really been able to hear it, actually, life is meant to be enjoyed. So give yourself permission to enjoy it.
Yes, Alice, there's that message again. You know, life is meant to be enjoyed. We are allowed to enjoy it. This is one that really lands with me. You are allowed to enjoy the things that life gives you and that you do. Don't feel guilty, don't feel shame, don't suppress your emotional reaction to things, be it holding back tears of pain or tears of joy. Allowing yourself to feel great sadness, allowing yourself to feel happy. These are both things that can get squashed. We can get our emotions kind of compressed into this kind of middle ground, and to just continue about life without truly giving ourselves permission to enjoy it.
I think what I would say to my younger self is that you are far stronger and far more resilient than you ever realised you were. And despite it going against your philosophy and what you believe, you're going to suffer a lot, but out of that suffering, you're going to gain so much wisdom and so much strength and so much beauty, and even be thankful for the pain, even though you don't want the pain. I think that's what I tell my younger self, and that life is good. It's good. Yeah. Oh, and enjoy your hair while it still lasts, because that's going south.
Thanks, Mark. This is quite prescient for me at the moment. I've just noticed my hair thinning a little bit on top. So making the most of it while I can. I love that. And yeah, it's a really cool message, again, to share with our younger selves. Like, life won't be easy. There will be moments of great pain and suffering. You won't be able to avoid that stuff. That's a part of what life is. But you do come out the other end. And in time, you will come to see that these experiences will have made you stronger and wiser and calmer. But at the same time, don't try to force it. Allow yourself to live within that moment and to sit with that stuff that you're feeling. Don't beat yourself up if you're not extracting the growth or development lessons from a painful situation right now. You don't have to. That will come later. There will be a time for that. For now, just allow yourself to be sad, to grieve, or to be joyful, to be excited, to be hopeful. And allow yourself to almost embrace kind of naivety when it comes to looking at the world with hope and innocent eyes. Don't stop thinking the best in people. It's not your fault if people let you down. That's out of your control. That's an issue for them. It's not an issue for you. Don't become bitter and resentful and cynical just because of those experiences. Put faith in humanity, because ultimately the more trust you put in people, the more that is going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Not all the time, but more than if you just assume the worst. I really like how Jacqueline Strickland puts it. You know what you know, that life isn't always easy for anyone, and that all the world's problems are not yours to solve. Just relax. Everyone has their own struggles. You can't solve all the problems. Just play what's in front of you, and do so with character, with integrity, with the right spirit, and a sense of humour.
Oh, yeah, I would say don't struggle so much. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Take off the mask, be yourself, and things are going to work out just fine. It's so funny how, we spend a big part of our lives trying to fit in, trying to blend in, and then eventually we're like, that didn't really feel good, so now let's just come back to ourselves. So I don't know if there's actually a shortcut. Maybe you just have to go through that phase of trying to fit in, but I think it could be shortened, because I look at my teenage boys right now, and yeah, obviously for them right now it's all about fitting in and blending in. But I kind of spent too many years being a teenager. I think, up till the age of 40. Wish I understood that message before, that it's time to just be myself. So yeah, that's what I would tell myself, to not having to prove anything to anyone.
What an interesting question this is from Sarah Santacroce. Do we have to go through the phase of wanting and trying to fit in? It's a natural urge, needing to belong. And I guess the realization will come that actually trying to fit in often leads us to the opposite outcome. We alienate ourselves from ourselves and may end up settling for mediocrity and things that actually, these I hold no value in this thing that I've been chasing. And I've been chasing it in order to fit in, because that's what you're supposed to do. If we unshackle ourselves and live as only we can, we find a deeper and more kind of transcendent sense of belonging, a belonging to humanity, not just to a fickle, ever-changing crowd, to fashion, to all that sort of stuff. And that's really important. And I think we can get to that place a little sooner. But ultimately, I think, this question that Sarah asks is is probably, you do probably have to go through that phase of at least wanting to fit in and then working out whether that's true. I remember writing the song Hold On when I was about 23. I've been reflecting on the idea that there are often times in life when it feels like, we're losing our grip on things, where things just feel like it's just chaos. There's like stuff going on everywhere. You can't keep a grip on all that you need to keep a grip on. And when this happens, the instinct is to hold tighter, to clench, with firmer grip. But I had this voice in my head saying, actually, if you want to get a better grip, sometimes you've got to let go first. Sometimes you've got to let go in order to hold with a more effective grasp, if at all. Sometimes the best thing is to let go and be done with it. But I've always held this line as a message that I would want my younger self to hear. If you want to get a better grip, sometimes you've got to let go first. Tracy Cooper says, I'd encourage my younger self by saying that you are indeed worthwhile and have great potential to develop and grow that potential. Invest heavily into yourself at a much younger age. I'd reassure my younger self that anything happening in life will pass and tomorrow is always a new day. And lastly, I would inspire my younger self by saying that you will have 4 beautiful children someday and you will love them unconditionally. You will escape the humble and dysfunctional background you came from and achieve truly meaningful and significant things in life for people all over the world. And you'll be known globally as a leading thinker and compassionate doer in ways that are uniquely you. Don't try to conform. Be you, and it will be more than enough. Wow, yeah. I love how he's kind of separated the question in how I asked it as well, the encouragement, the reassurance, and the inspiration to a younger self. That's really special.
Stop trying to please other people so much. I think a lot of introverts, highly sensitive people, we care a lot about what other people think, and sometimes to a fault. So try to stop maybe shaping your behaviour to what other people want so much, and find what feels good and find what feels true and enjoyable for you. 2, no one cares as much as you think they do. And this, of course, can be a big relief, especially if you think, oh, I've made a mistake. Oh no, what will they think? Chances are they don't care as much as you think they do. It's a big relief. But also, especially for younger Kat, I would say that she also needs to be taken down a peg or two at times. And thinking that no one cares as much as you think they do was also just quite a good thing about a good thing for just taking a bigger perspective in life and remembering that it's not that important, the things you're doing. It's fine.
I really like this. Thanks, Kat, for sharing this. Like, people don't care, and this can go this goes 2 ways, doesn't it? First, it's a reminder that it's not all about you. People don't care about you. Like, you're not the center of the universe. Secondly, people don't care about what you're doing. So they're not noticing the stuff that you're really fixating on or worrying about. Like, what if people notice this? Oh no, she's just sort of relax and get on with it. People don't care if you mess up. They're not even looking.
And the final one that I would say is, this too shall pass. And I actually remember the kind of moment in time when I heard this first. And it really just struck me as, it's so obvious, but it really, really helped me in 2 ways. It would help me appreciate what was happening in the present moment a lot more. This isn't going to last forever. And it also just reminds me that, in the difficult times, of course, this isn't going to last forever. And so I would be able to reach for appreciation or reach for relief in pretty much any situation based on that one little trite phrase. Yeah, so I think that was really helpful when I first heard that.
Yeah, this is the adage that came up in the last part as well. Like, so simple, so trite, but so important. Thanks, Kat.
I wish I could go back and give Jacob at age 12 and age 23 and age 34 and right now a big hug and just say, you're enough. What you're facing right now, this anxiety, these things that feel too big for you, if I could just give myself a hug at all of those different stages in life and say, you're enough. If you can just come back home to yourself, if you can heal your connection to your creative center, to yourself, if you can just take the time to listen to what you truly need, what you want, what you're afraid of, and then begin to ask the question, Jacob, what would you love right now? What would you love? What would you love to create? Go back into imagination and daydreaming, and then learn to then bring that forward from the feeling and into the words that we're using to reinforce these things, and then the actions that I take. If I could help my younger self begin to do that, and just say, you'll find your way. What you love is the compass. What you would love to create will show you exactly where you need to go and how you need to do it.
What would you love to create? Yes, I love that.
This question it gets me a little bit. It's like it gets better. When I think of where I was, kind of my teen years, my early 20s, it was really hard. I didn't know I was introverted. I didn't know I was more sensitive. And it's an interesting thing to be something and not know it. And then once I found that out, just like so eye-opening. And once I discovered that piece of information, everything got so much better. And so that's what I would want my younger self to know, that it gets better. And the world we live in now, that the fact that I'm on this recording doing something for Andy with the work that he does with highly sensitive people, I would want my younger self to know that you just wait. People are going to know this stuff. It's not this big secret that we're introverted, highly sensitive. It's not an unknown anymore. And because it's not an unknown, it's life-changing, right? That I now make sense to myself, and my kids can make sense to me, that I'm not confused why, my oldest, who's 13, when it's the weekend, he doesn't really want to go out, and he's not depressed. He's not isolated. He's full. The hallways of junior high are pretty busy. The energy of like young teenagers is pretty big. So he's done. And I love that he gets to live in that world now where there's understanding for who he is. And not, even when I think of the teachers, not all of them get him, but enough of them do. And that's a huge difference in the quality of his life. And yeah, so I'd want my younger self to know that in that hard place, this is not the end, and it gets so much better.
Oh man, thanks so much, Tracy Gillett, for sharing that. A reminder to me that this is all worth it. For me personally, like the work I do with introverts and highly sensitive people, sharing these messages, connecting with people who are or have been in that confused and lonely place, it gets better. You're not alone. The world is full of my younger self. The opportunity is there to reassure, to inspire, and to encourage. The opportunity is there all around us. There's people everywhere who need that. That's a really just beautiful thing to hold on to.
I do think that we need to make mistakes, and we need to experience different things in life. And so I don't know if I have regrets, but I think the biggest thing I would tell my younger self is to prioritize yourself and go after what you want. I remember there were times in my younger self days where I kind of prioritized or was chasing a fantasy that didn't really serve me, or someone else's, needs and desires more than my own, especially in relationships. And I would say go after what you want now. Do not wait. Don't wait for perfection. Don't wait a year from now. Don't wait for anything else to change. Just do it now. Go build the business of your dreams. Start the business of your dreams. Get out of a relationship that isn't serving you. Move to where you want to move to. Whatever changes you want to make, whatever you want in your life, go after it now.
I love this. Definitely one for little Andy. The question, what are you waiting for? That would have challenged me to stop stalling and to either do it or shelve it with so many things, rather than just talking about doing it while coasting along doing absolutely nothing. but taking up a huge amount of mental capacity, mental energy. On that note, Sarah Kuhn has something similar to say.
If I could give my younger self some advice, I would say do the thing that you want to do. Do it now. Don't wait until you feel like you're ready or until you think it's okay with everyone else. You don't need permission to chase after your dreams. It doesn't have to be okay with your friends or your family for you to do the things that you want to do. You don't have to live by their standards. You can make your own standards. It's okay. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to have a beautiful husband and a job you love and to live in a gorgeous place. You deserve happiness and fulfillment and love in your life. You don't have to settle for so-so or average. You don't have to settle just because everyone else thinks that your standards are too high and your expectations are too high or that your dreams are unrealistic. Go after what you want and live the life that you want to live, and live it with such a passion and intensity that everyone stops and stares. Give them something to stare at.
This is a call to return to the sources of the messaging we believe about ourselves and the world. Where are we limiting ourselves? What are those stories grounded in? Where do they come from? How true are they?
Wow, there's so many things I would say to my younger self. But one of the main things I would tell her is that creativity is unique to each person, and there is no comparison to your creativity, from your creativity to another. So I used to do that a lot when I was younger. I would spend a lot of my time comparing my creative self, my creative work to others, especially my writing. And I still do, of course. But nowadays I'll just write. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm not a very good writer. I'm a terrible writer, perhaps. I'm the worst writer on this planet. But I love to write, and this is my creativity thing, so I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm going to keep on writing, and that's what I wish I could tell my younger self, is just write. Just do your creative work. Don't forget about everyone else. You're not competing with anyone else. You're just doing it for yourself. Do it for yourself, and it'll become so much easier. And so I hope this kind of helps you guys as well. If you're working on something and you feel like you wish that it could be better, just think of it as if you're competing with only yourself and no one else. No one else matters on this planet, just you. You're only competing with yourself, and you're just trying to become better and better every single day.
Competition and comparison can be massive limiters for many introverted and highly sensitive people. You know, we get discouraged when comparing our messy insides with the shiny exteriors of others. We get hung up on this sense that everybody else knows what they're doing, that imposter syndrome that Boom talked about before. We might feel stifled by the feeling that other people might be looking on at us as if we are in competition with them. And for me, coming back to the question of how I know I need to recharge my batteries, kind of found in envy and comparison. I start beating myself up because I'm envious of friends and compatriots when they are doing things or have achieved things that are worth celebrating. And so I know that I need to take a step back. When I move from being a cheerleader and I move into kind of the position of resentful old cynic. So Boom's message here is a powerful one. It's not about anyone else. It's about what I'm doing. It's about what I'm committed to, how I can show up and become a little bit better each and every day and contribute more to the bigger story of humanity and positive movement forwards and growth.
This thought that, I didn't get this much done today, and look what I still have left, and here's what all these racing to-do lists in my head. And then one day I decided to reframe that with what I had accomplished that day. And that really changed a lot for me, just like looking back and saying, this is what I did. And I kind of had this boost of confidence.
This made me laugh because one of the days that I spent putting this project together, I worked for 15 and a half hours pretty much straight, just with 2 short breaks. I made unbelievably huge progress, but still finished the day thinking about all the stuff that I hadn't managed to get done and beating myself up for it. And I heard Jennifer's words, and I took heed, and I flipped it on its head and said, okay, no, let's look at this from a different angle. What have I accomplished today? And the answer was, wow, like far more than I could ever have imagined that I would be able to when I started the day. And so that was quite appropriate and apt from Jennifer. So thank you for sharing that.
And also giving myself permission to have fun. Right before I did this video, I watched a short Funny or Die video that people were telling me about, and I just was laughing out loud. And I was like, that's got to be good for me, right? Even if I didn't get, everything done on my morning list, I had a good laugh, and I know that has to help me.
Yeah, what a freeing way to think. Definitely one that resonates with my own messages for my own younger self. Just let go and enjoy the world. In fact, it's the joy, the fun, the laughter. These are all parts of what makes the serious stuff so much better and so much more meaningful. I remind myself that, yes, I like things neat and organised, but actually your best work is going to come from moments where you're clinging on by your fingernails. You've got to work hard to bring some kind of order out of chaos and overwhelm. That will come, but you can't force it. And this project is a perfect example of that. When I started it, I just had the kind of core concept, the raw idea of, I've got 6 questions that I'd like people to answer. I had no idea what shape it was going to take. I was not fitting things into a nice, neat kind of preconceived blueprint of like, this is what the project's going to look like. It just became this as it took shape, and as I kind of sat with it and didn't force it, but just allowed it to mold in the way that it needed to mold, and to be open to the idea that it might move into other shapes. This might not be the end. This might be just kind of one iteration of what it will become.
I really think the creative process, if you're creative, I think everybody's creative, but if you're using your creativity, it does no good to say that it's not working for you if you do it a certain way, or be hard on yourself unnecessarily. And I think part of the inherent theme of being creative is to be scattered and to be overwhelmed at times, and maybe even multiple times during the day. People tend to label that, as ADD or a distraction, and they put very negative terms on it. But I have been living around artists all my life, and I myself consider myself more creative than I've ever been. And I also think in some ways I'm more scattered. But somehow, some way, it gets done, and I manage to have some fun in the process.
So yeah, the story is not over until it's over. We can continue these conversations between our younger selves and who we are now, pretty much as long as we are alive and breathing. There is so much to learn, so much soul work to do, which can help us grow, help us reframe, relinquish the unhelpful and unhealthy messages that keep us tethered to limiting beliefs about ourselves and about other people and about the world. So there we are. We've reached the end of this series. What a blast it's been. Thank you so much to all the contributors. If you want to explore the kinds of themes we've been looking at here in more depth alongside other Gentle Rebels, then this is just a kind of, I suppose, a taster of what we do in the main area of the Haven community. If you're interested in checking out what we do there, you can start your free 2-week trial today. If you like what you see, then you can stay on past the 2 weeks, get stuck into the new season. We kind of move in a season by season basis. The next season's January, February, March, and April. And yeah, I'll send you your first letter through the post in January, very very soon, January 2020, as a way to start the new season. Perfect start to the new decade as well. If you decide, actually after looking around, it's not for me, you can cancel. No questions asked. Like you're not kind of suckered into anything at all. There's no obligations. We just basically take a monthly theme, look at it in relation to our introversion, sensitivity, creativity, personal growth, all that kind of stuff, and focus on refining and learning and developing ourselves so that we can truly thrive out there in the world as we are, not as we think we ought to be, not as we've been told we should be, but as we really are, as we're in the process of becoming over and over through our lives. Be really great to see you in there. There's a link to find out more about it somewhere around here, wherever you're listening to this or watching this, or just go to the-haven.co/join. And you can find out more there. So just want to say thank you so much for joining me for this series. It's been so much fun to put together and to share with you. And thank you again to everybody that was involved in submitting responses. It's just been a lot of fun, a lot of pleasure to put together. So I will be doing something again like this at some point once I've recovered from the work that it's taken to produce it. But yeah, I love doing this sort of thing, and connecting with people and connecting people with people and all that sort of stuff. So it's been great. I'll see you again very soon. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.